I just want to take a moment and welcome the morning and breathe in as a collective and really set the stage, because for me, the heart of art is not individualized. The heart of art is the grand inspiration of life. It is life itself. So let's just take a moment together here and welcome this beautiful seventh day. A lot has happened, a lot of information, a lot of energy exchange, a lot of healing, a lot of realization, a lot of pain points and trauma realized and brought to the surface. So midway through we're about midway through in a certain way, maybe a little past. We want to make sure that we're tending to the whole, because culture as well is the culture, the family, how we are being together. So we want to tend to a healthy culture and make sure we don't overstimulate ourselves and deplete ourselves. So with that, let's take a moment together. Let our eyes close naturally, if that feels natural for you. Just bring full attention to the breath as we welcome this moment, this day, holistically, with wholeness, with the fullness of our attention and our sensitivity in our heart and our mind, our body and our soul, individually and together. So let's exhale, empty the cup. So we make space for something new and more beneficial to happen, to meet this moment as it is. Nice, full, deep breath, embracing life, meeting life where it is and where we are in the dynamic interface that is. Full inhale. Let's sip more at the top. Breath held, body relaxed. And just allowing what is to be. And the intention to let go of all that's unbeneficial individually, collectively, not just within ourselves, with each other, but also as we invoke the spirit of art and culture. Anything that's in the space there that's preventing us from being in full communion with the spirit of art and culture, to be visuals, to be the hollow bone, to be the mouthpiece, the expression piece of art and culture, the spirit of art and culture. We allow that to be clarified as we exhale with a big sigh. Another nice deep breath, smooth transition, a nice deep, full, nourishing inhale. Breathing like we mean it. Honoring the ally of the breath. Sipping a little more at the top. Breath held, body relaxed. Just letting ourselves come into harmony with the unfolding moment. Embracing the event horizon. The infinite blossoming of this moment in all its fullest expressions, infinite variation of color and texture and sense. And exhale, big sigh. Let's do last one, biggest breath yet. Sipping a little more. Now as we're suspended here, just feeling into being of service to art and culture. And allowing what is most beneficial to unfold for the greatest service to all humanity, all sentient life. Knowing that what needs to be expressed as a medicine to humanity and all of life is and will be now and always. And we exhale with a big sigh. As we welcome this moment, so it is. Oh. So as I allow my breath to come back to a nice natural rhythm, a little deeper, a little more conscious. From this place of connection, I allow my eyes to open and allow the flow of life to move through. And in that breath, in that vein, in that heart, I'd like to share one piece about something stirring within me from my empty channel. The color that's flashing within me is something that came yesterday from this beautiful screening, The Power of the Heart. If any of you caught that yesterday, those watching and those with us here. We had a beautiful screening, a special screening for the whole person Convergence, and one thing that's percolating within me, I spoke about in the screening in the movie, was one moment. Maya Angelou shared that I believe the heart is the only thing you can trust. And another person in the movie said, if you can't trust the heart, then what can you trust? And last one, if we can calm down enough, we can hear the wisdom of our own hearts. And with that, for me, a little bit about me, and I'll share with my two fellow intrepid travelers in the world of arts and culture and in life. Grateful to have Gary Malkin and Alan Steinfeld with us here as representatives of the realm of art and culture. And we're just representatives, we're representatives standing in this place of just allowing, not so much about us individually, yes, sharing from our perspective, but really sharing the spirit of art and culture, how it's touched us through this vehicle. So actually, I'm not going to go now. I've actually spoken enough, I'm feeling, and I want to share over and welcome Brother Gary. And just what I'd like to share opening, we have a lot of time and space to share and let the free flow of artistic expression come through us. Gary, in any way that you're feeling moved, first, please just share a little bit about your spirit of art and culture. Introduce yourself at some point and share kind of your interface. A few minutes here to start, and perhaps you have that special thing that you wanted to do.
First of all, thanks for creating this opportunity. I'm grateful for the invitation. My life has been committed to using the power of music to embrace and awaken and evoke our wholeness. Wisdom of the world, wellness is all about that. And I've been on a mission for a very long time to understand the destiny that music and the arts has to fulfill around awakening us to our wholeness. If I could summarize it, it would be that I'm kind of on a mission to integrate the multiple intelligences that are represented by the different intelligence centers of our consciousness, our heart brain, our gut brain, our soul wisdom, and our spiritual wisdom. So those each, to me, I call them the 5 portals. They're all another cosmology through which to understand our multidimensional nature. So my history is a film composer. I've been spending 30 years really with esoteric art in a way. It's very underappreciated. It's the art of creating an emotionally resonant field through sculpted vibration, intentional music, to create an emotional response that will have alchemical relationship to the thing that you want people to absorb in more than their linear minds. Right? Just that's what's taught me how to drop into the multidimensional nature of our knowing, right? So that led me to a path after 25 years of scoring TV, film, commercials, and fulfilling people's objectives of how do we sell this? How do we convey this? How do we, 100 documentaries that are about socially responsible causes, that ultimately led me to the inquiry around what really matters most. And I had a very serious accident in 1998. And we always know, like every person's story involves a fall, as they talk about in the hero's journey. And so my fall, the most significant one, happened in 1998, and don't have to go into the details, but what it did was awaken me to the reality of my impermanence. And it left with my dear friend Michael Stillwater, that created a work that was designed to help create a deeper sense, linear and rational, of our understanding of our impermanence, of our mortality. And what I learned was, when Deepak Chopra says, death life possible, death has been my greatest teacher around what I call radical gratitude for the preciousness of life. So out of that accident came a work of 3 years working on interviewing wisdom keepers, combining their words with the art of film scoring, and it became this graceful passages. And I,
Wait,
so
Gary, Gary, can you pause right there?
yeah, sure.
That's a big moment right there. I just want people say, "Oh, I don't mean to interrupt," but I mean to
No, it's
interrupt.
fine. Yeah, interrupt away.
Graceful passages. I love that. I had no idea that was your creation, and thank you for that blessing. And it's and again the magic of the spirit of art and culture. Like viewing audience, really the extended family here is. I've never met these brothers, and I think they know each other, but I haven't met them in the true spirit of art and culture. Meet each other anew in the unfolding of this moment, fresh and new, with new eyes, new heart. And the threading of our lives is happening right here. For me, I was deeply moved by that very, I think, a very potent time in my life. And death also for me has been of course, one of my greatest teachers. And death needs to be, I feel, needs to be talked about, needs to be spoken with, needs a new relationship, because death is life in a healthy understanding, a deeper understanding than I know that I was taught. That to truly, and I wrote a book called Heart Wisdom, which in the writing of that book, one of the seminal moments was speaking to a dear brother of mine who said, which is quoted in the book, if we don't if we don't come to terms with our own death, we're never fully alive.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
So I just want to take a moment and offer that up, and Gary continue there, and then yes, Alan,
yeah,
we're
no,
flowing.
I actually talked to Gary the other day because a friend of mine had just passed gracefully, and I'm actually sitting in her room now, and being with her in her process changed my whole orientation to death, and it's really extended life. There's really we call it death, but the spirit comes in so much more fully that it's another level of presence. At least that's what I felt, because she was a really evolved person. So her spirit is present here in a way that maybe it wasn't when the body was here and the personality. So and artists create from that place of spirit. They pull that in. They transcend the personality and the body, and they call in from those realms. The thing is, when you're dead, you can't create in that same way as sharing, but you can let that feeling be held in the heart of those perceiving that level of reality, and communicate that through Gary's beautiful music, which he does so well in honoring people in a vibrational frequency, which is only one form of his art. But I just had to bring it up because I'm sitting in this room with this person who I love very much has died, and it changed my whole orientation to what I thought death was to be feared or anything like that. It is love. It is pure love, and in a way, joy. I don't know. Do you relate to that, Gary, at all?
Completely. And what I would like to say is, at the heart of wholeness, embodied arts and culture, is the power of ritual and the recognition of our spirit, the truth that we're spiritual beings on a human journey. And in the spirit of that, I'd like to consecrate this moment by creating, it's only 3 minutes, but by creating a moment, because the thing that I've become fascinated with, Russell and Alan, is if words and the expression of words is the metaphoric relationship to our cognitive self. It's the expression of our cognitive self. We have a slippery relationship with the culture's relationship with the cognitive as being the head of it all, right? I really feel like when you infuse the moment that we're in right now with the honoring of the space between the words, of presence that music allows, we become impregnated with a more holistic experience of life itself.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'd love to share a 3-minute piece, not only to demonstrate that, but to literally impregnate our communion with a more balanced relationship with cognitive and heart. Can I do that?
I love it
It's
because
the perfect moment, brother.
your music, Gary, puts me into that state of transcendence. So when the first time I ever met you was in Ojai, and it's like, I want to play you this piece, and it's like, that's your essence, Gary. I want to feel it, please.
So this is this is a new project I'm working on with a phenomenal thought leader that I adore. Her name is Sarah McCrum. She wrote a book called Love Money, Money Loves You. And she does with her voice activations that have, one of the few people I know that infuse her cognitive expression with energetic is what I'm talking about. It's preloaded, right? When we sit in the studio and we don't know what she's going to say. I don't know what I'm going to play. And so it's a transition. We call it transformance. And I'd just like to use this as a way to kind of light the sonic candle of our shared experience right now, if I could, and just allow it to infuse you. And here it is.
Do you know how beautiful you are? Have you ever stopped to look at yourself? To see yourself in the clarity of who you are? In your magnificence? If only you could see what I can see. If only you could know what I know of you. You would stand before yourself in awe. You would see yourself you would feel yourself. You would know. And so I invite you in this moment to see how beautiful you are. To see yourself in clarity, in simplicity, in your true nature. I invite you to see yourself. You are so beautiful.
You're muted, Gary. You're muted, Gary. You're muted. So please repeat that.
So I love nothing said right away because sometimes I make the mistake. What I want to share this piece, and then I'm going to pass the baton. The Malkin, the spoken word ends. Did you notice how the slowness of the space between the words invites us to have a different relationship with the space, allows our mitochondria and our multiple forms of knowing get online in an equal way as equal jewels in the crown of human creation, right? So what I want to share that's the most important for me to share is that after 9 months of sheltering in place, after working on the score to thrive, I did this breakthrough last week where I realized there was massive amounts of isolation and aloneness and separation. I was a huge cry about that. I had, once I didn't have the project to focus on, I had this, I'm an extroverted guy that's very so and so the reason why I wanted to play that track was at this time to know our belonging and to feel our belonging to ourself and to life. It is so insidious how even the most conscious of us can lose track of our belonging to ourself and trust my way and realized even with my sense of grace and amazing world that I live in, that I felt this of such alone in my little, apartment for all this time. So the power of music excels in the vastness of the field. That's why my field is the ether. The field is something so important at this time when everyone is feeling me, and so I just wanted to reawaken our what we often take for granted was a universal language of emotion called music as a ticket, a catalyst, an evoker to our oneness with the field, with the comfort of belonging to ourselves in life. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Leave it at that. I don't know if there's anything more to be said.
Well,
I just
I
want to
want
breathe into that and take a moment before I share it.
yeah, I would take a moment because
I was going to pass you in 1 second one thing, and I was going to segue it right over to you. Like a beautiful song, sharing the space of it, and I want to share it fully with you. But I do want to take a moment and just even breathe that in even more.
I love that. That's the metaphor. When the music ends, the most important spaciousness afterwards that allows us to integrate the multiple ways of knowing. The music, like the land meets the ocean, right? And then your presence in wanting to absorb it is what's been missing. It's in the wholeness of arts and culture, the integration of the meaning. Those moments is exactly, I love that you want space. So I'm going to shut up so you can allow it.
And I love that you brought up that's really the interface of my life and the medicine that I really found calling to me. My interface into the healing arts world, twofold, but definitely hand in hand, is the healing arts. That's really where I've been facilitating and practicing the healing I've used, and also sound healing. It's beautiful sister, beautiful kinship between the healing arts and then sound healing. And I do feel Gary, and I can't wait to hear about Alan to feel your spirit. But Alan, Gary, what is important, but where you're sharing from is what most lights me up. And to give space to allow music and the medicine from the root many, meaning middle or center, that which helps us to center, to connect with the center of our being, the heart of our hearts in a very real way. And that's what sound healing is for me. What my life is about is help us to remember, become a member again of that which is most real and true. And that's what music is, and arts are. And I was going to add, of course, it's in our collective, and you already shared it. So I want to just breathe into that. As right as I pass it to Al, Grateful Dead fan, that really was a massive awakening into art and culture and music and a depth of reality that I didn't know existed. And one quote from Robert Hunter, who is the lyricist, the musical collaborator with Jerry Garcia. There's a song called Terrapin Station, kind of like one of like a sacred anthem unto the hero's journey, and it speaks right to the heart of art for me. And it says, for those who will probably will say this: inspiration, move me brightly, light the song with sense and color, hold away more than this I will not ask, faced with mysteries dark and vast, statements just seem last. Rise, some climb, some fall to get to Terrapin.
Nice.
Place, for those who know that kind of code, doesn't need to be said.
Well, it's also a great restaurant about 20 minutes away from me, so that's nice.
But I wanted to add.
I'd love to get that quote. That's gorgeous.
I just want to add about Gary's piece that
Alan.
played. It was the way he worked, Gary, the way you work with the silence. If it's not in between, and it's actually part of the piece, because you know music so well. It's like it's a note you can hear, but it keeps us present. So it is like the way the music went, and then the silence. It was a continuity of being that I don't usually recognize in song. So you work with the silence as an instrument,
Nice.
which is brilliant art.
Exactly.
Especially in that piece. I mean, I hear it sometimes in your other pieces.
Thank you, Alan. And it's directly the reason why I'm on this call with you guys. Because to me, is for awakening and evoking wholeness. And so that's why this conversation is my highest and most biggest priority in life.
On that line, I like is wholeness. And I do want to make another Grateful Dead reference, which is just an inroad for me. But in that instance, in art, for me, the crowning glory is not so much the song, but the medicine, where it into ourselves, into the moment. For that groove, for that magical moment, when it all comes together. I live for the moments when it all happens. And as the Grateful Dead spoke about, Phil Lesch, the bass player, said that it is all about my highest values. Something big, but I knew it in my heart. And he said, it's about fun. And the greatest fun is the experience of the eternal. It helped me to navigate inward into myself, to listen, hear, and feel with my entire being, open up that portal into the infinite, and hit that groove. And that was actually the name of my sound healing group, called Sacred Groove. And we were just groove hunters. We got together just like you did in a beautiful creative collaboration with that, where is you get together. That's the holy collaboration, and come together in that sacred moment. And then it happens when we're willing to listen and die unto them, to allow the eternal to be reborn in each and every moment. And with that, I want to turn over to Alan and give Alan a little bit of space to share his art and his heart.
Well, beautiful. Because I've thought a lot about art and culture, and I'm actually writing a book that has to do with the new cognitions of an artist to recognize something unknown. The difference between cognition and recognition. You have to have cognized something. You've had to have brought it into your awareness in order to recognize it. So the artist's role, and it's a slightly different, a slight left turn from what we've been talking about as art, as this vehicle spirit, but the artist and the culture have been at odds at points. The culture likes to, okay, that's art, and they'll contain it. And then the artist keeps pushing the envelope. Some artists keep pushing the envelope into new art forms, into new ways of expressing, and people come along and say, well, is that art? And then the culture embraces it, and then it becomes officially art. And then the artist needs to keep pushing the envelope of what's cognitively aware, because the artist functions on this other realm beyond the personality. So they're getting input from, let's say, spirit, or from the outer cosmos, and bringing it into reality. This is why Terence McKenna says culture is not your friend, because culture wants to contain you. Culture wants to put you in a box and tell you, this is art, like this is music, this, and art is whatever we choose it to be. So I want to read a little quote, because I was working on this piece about art and consciousness and culture when this woman who I was with, Paula, I was with her, she got inspired, and she's the woman I'm talking about who just passed over, gracefully passed. She gave me this quote that she just channeled or got inspired from another realm. And I'll just share it here because it sums up what I'm trying to say, and pushing the envelope of how art is the engine of culture. It's not a reflection of culture, it's the movement in culture. Like the Grateful Dead, they moved, they created an original sound, they created an original subculture for sure, and something that never existed before. That's a poesis. I'll get back to poesis, but let me just read you this quote that says, this is from Paula Gloria, who a dear friend. She said, art posits new possibilities through beauty and intoxication. It shows the new way to glimpse the secrets of the unknown. And once known, it's accepted and becomes obvious, and even suffocating if it's too known, even banal. This is the social confinement of art, a place most society longs for with security, but where the artists never rest. They baffle society as they move forward into the shadows of the mind to create again, thus opening up new realities to an ongoing process of artists evolving culture. So, that's just a little,
Nice.
that's a little. So I want to, yeah, and then anyway, I condensed it to say, from the shadows of the mind to the light of perception, the artist's experience creates new realities. So this is something I've been thinking about a long time. And there's a book out that I stumbled upon called The Long Revolution. The Long Revolution is by a writer named Raymond Williams, who wrote specifically about art and culture. And I could cite a couple of things, but basically there's this battle for moving things forward that I think is so important for the artists to know they are the revolutionaries in this world. Without the artists or the whatever creative input anyone has in the world, things would be very stagnant. Society would crawl up and freeze. So it's always those creative people in whatever form, music, dance, art, painting, movies. These are the beings that are keeping track of the flow of eternity through their consciousness in order to present new possibilities to the world. This prevents stagnation of culture. And that's why this country, I think in particular, really welcomes art, really welcomes new art forms. I mean, everybody does, but we're a land of multiracial, multi-ethnic, and each piece of this tapestry has contributed to this ongoing evolution that we're a part of. And I just want to say, the Greeks knew this. They called it poesis, where the word poetry comes from, the ancient Greeks. And the poesis was a word for making, to make, but it wasn't just making, it was really creating and bringing something that wasn't known before into the known. Real poesis is making known the unknown, which is what the artist, the creator does. It brings the immaterial into the material so everyone can benefit if they let go of what they think they know. So the artist is the one who embraces the unknown, delivers it to the world, and says, here, see if you can digest this. And when you do, you start to feel more things like what Gary does. Music allows us to feel. Art, painting, these are not little things. They're not decorative things. Music, the Grateful Dead has changed people's lives and made them feel. I mean, that's just one of a billion musicians who have been able to bring something etheric into form and really create magic. That is the power of art. It is alchemical magic to transform the soul. So that's a little piece.
Oh, and Alan, I want to share right there. I do want to breathe in that, but I also just want to capture this moment. Is what you shared was just pristine. I mean, I'm glad this was recorded. That was it. And even as pristine as that was, the most beautiful thing in this moment is feeling the spirit of art in you, living as you and through you. So I want to honor that within you. I can feel the spirit of art, you as a living artist, right in this moment. You feel the spirit in. And Alan, really, that was what was so beautiful to me is all the words that we may have hold a candle to the living spirit here. And I was literally just about to humbly bow to my sister Amelie, who just in living magical form on the call, as I was about to say, one of the people who embody it as well as anyone I've seen is my dear sister Amelie, because you were doing it, Alan, and you were an embodiment, feminine embodiment of spirit. And I was going to acknowledge all the women who are on the just weren't able to make it. And I was about to acknowledge Amelie Grace, who just literally showed up in this moment. So in the spirit of the living magic of you just channel, I want to give a moment to my dear sister, one of my dearest sisters, who really does, her life is a testament of the embodiment of the living expression. Everything she does and says is in service of that. From the wild feminine, from the out of control craziness of life to the most elegant grace comes through in all its myriad of forms and colors and textures. So I want to give a moment and welcome not only Amelie, but also as representative of women. And I wanted to also Auntie Ivy, who's not able to be with us here today, Maya, who I have not met, but Maya Montesterios, and also the other brothers, Scott Katamas, Benjamin Ross, other realm representatives who are with us here, and also part of all the artists of all ages in all of the world. We welcome you. And with that, the spirit of the divine feminine of art, or the art of the feminine. Amelie, welcome, my dear. I was hoping.
Perfect timing. I'm so glad that I was able to jump on just for a little bit. I wanted to just hear what was being spoken and just be a part of this conversation because it feels so dear to my heart and just so important for this planet and what we get to do from here on out. So yeah, I would love to just hear, where are you all at in the conversation, or any I don't feel like I'm ready to just jump into a share quite yet. I'd love to just hear a little bit.
So, yeah,
I had something I wanted to share, but if that's okay, and that might give some context. Hi, Amelie. I don't know you, but I love you. And I see the right on my homepage is my logo. Amazing. So there it is. And so, have as a result of working with Thrive recently, I've really been intimately connected to all the sacred geometric, artwork and stuff. What I wanted to say was, first of all, thank you for all the sharing. And I love, Russell, already what I see your superpower is the implicit in the very moment, even when language tends to take over and create the illusion that life is just neck up in reality. And so I love that you want to bring attention to the music of our souls as it's emerging, then with the come from of Alan speaking. Many people tend to bring things to a two-dimensional realm when somebody's speaking, but your superpower is, I loved that the music of your soul, that was your come from, your passion, your commitment to your life as a part of art and culture, as it was reflected in the way Alan spoke. And it was just beautiful to feel what you what you focus on is a reflection of your understanding of the multidimensionality and of the role that the arts plays and the music of the universe that's operating at all times within us, right? I happen to, focus, the wounded healer that I am, is that I used music since the earliest stage, and due to this moment, to quiet the restive monkey mind, because I am so distracted by the culture's obsession with the linear rational mind as being the empirical ruler of the universe and all of the forms of knowing we have, right? And so a lot of what I care about is using music as a reminder that music is not, the music and the arts is not the garnish on the side of the main course of life. It's the actual digestive enzyme that allows us to withdraw the meaning from the steak, if you will, in the standard American diet of the American main course concept, right? So that it's not the parsley, it's the thing that helps us derive the value and meaning of the what's on the plate, right? But here's the rub. We use generically the term music and the arts, presuming one of the greatest wounds and shadows that does not exist, which is the intention behind a lot of arts and culture is not, unfortunately, for integration, for wholeness, for healing, for awakening, for connection, right? It's not. And we notice in our bubble that we just use the word music and the arts because it's so powerful and da 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 da. But we forget that we're in times now where, since time immemorial, the chant and the drum demonstrated that the sound is a carrier of intention, right? It's one of the great superpowers of sound, is it carries intention, right? And all of the intelligence, multidimensional terra intelligence, is carried in the sounds, right? So when we put our consciousness into music, for example, or into art, and it's wounded, and it's, let's say it's all wounded, but if the intention is to bifurcate or fragment or distract, or if the intention is not to create wholeness, we have to make a distinction there. And I think that it just, in speaking to the purpose of the call, of this call, in my world, wholeness, what it looks like as arts and culture is expressing itself, is about finding elegant ways to affirm and distinguish when the intention is. So my sense of the book that I'm working on is vibrational intelligence. And the essence of vibrational intelligence is recognize, if we live in a world where the horizon line of that which supports life and that which denigrates life is not defined by the culture, we're in the dark ages. And we've been in the dark ages for a very long time. And so my sense is, once we define the horizon line of that which supports life and that which doesn't, is the birth of the multidimensionality of our vibrational intelligence, because then all things are not equal and intention matters, and clarity of purpose and intention really will start defining a renaissance of a new wholeness in culture. And so I'll stop there, but just that gives you something, Amelie, to speak to. I just wanted to stop there right now.
And Gary, I wanted to share, you just landed the mothership into the heart of the audience.
Say more.
I don't know more I can say about that.
Oh, no, I need you to say more. I don't exactly know what you mean.
Oh. What I felt you did is you actually brought the sacred interface of the human journey and its interface with the spiritual intelligence of life. You brought it all the way home into that moment where the spirit incarnates into the human and expressed as a living culture. And what you did is you reframed or reinvigorated a healthy culture by expressing what that meant for you. And you landed it into that delineation, which is hard to do because separation, all these other kinds of diseases, you didn't separate. You delineated, you demarked, you landed to what a healthy culture looks like. You concentrated the energy vibrationally, expressing an intelligence that allows for me a life-affirming opportunity to grow.
Oh, I got the chills. A beautiful way of expressing yourself. That's gorgeous. Very eloquent. Wow, that's lovely. Thank you.
And anything
I you know, you're beautiful. You're a brother, man. I just love what you're interested in is we're working for the same boss here. It's wonderful.
What I was going to say, Gary, was like, something has happened here, which is the whole thing about is I was about to share with you is like, from the moment you started speaking at the beginning of our conversation, I fell in love with you. You got me at, I mean, from sacred passages, like that body of art. I mean, that body of art.
You mean graceful passages? Yeah.
It is sacred passages, but graceful passages. That piece, like, it just something threaded multidimensionally beyond time, piece us together. And I'm like, I can't wait to speak with you after this. I want to collaborate and create. We're already collaborating, and I can't wait to share my music with you and my heart more with you. And I want to create something with you. I want to more than, or an extension of this. I want to.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and thank you. I feel the same way, and I'm excited to find out who this creature, this goddess, this beautiful human being is that now that you have a little bit of context to speak to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so helpful.
Tell us who you.
Say it again, Alan.
I was just wondering, what is your passion in the world? What is your art? What do you love?
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I am a life artist. I have mediums. I have many mediums, but my most passionate medium is consciousness and the psyche, and understanding the field as the, great, like, the muse, it's my muse. For me, being a whole person and knowing myself and having access to all of me, all of the hurt, all of the out of balance, all of me is this art form. So I'm all about bringing my psyche, myself, into greater coherence, so that when I sing my choices out into the world, I am making beautiful decisions, and I am modeling the emergence of what is this thing called evolution, and the edge of consciousness that we're coming into. I am a musician. I am an astrologer. I work with the gene keys. I'm a voice dialogue practitioner, so I love to be inside of the psyche. It's one of my favorite places to explore. And for me, the whole creative that I see available to us through the incredible tension that we see, which that's when renaissances have been given birth throughout time. I see the new mediums coming online of the medium of consciousness, the medium of how we see ourselves and how we behave, the choices we make, just like you were saying, Gary, the intention behind whatever it is I might be saying with this beautiful vibration of my instrument. And I love how the vectorium, this zero phase geometry that is the shape of the vacuum, that is a 12-pointed structure that does have those notes that Marshall Lefferts has mapped on there, the notes of the scale. I really see our consciousness and each of our individual beings as instruments, actual instruments that, when I consider that I have all these different parts of self, I have parts of me that are really centered and I have parts that are serious and want to get something done. And I have all sorts of different parts, but I like to play with them like chords and synthesize and what I'm into. And I know I could probably keep finding more and more clear articulations of that.
Oh, Amelie, that's so beautiful. And FYI, just have you seen Thrive yet? The new Thrive sequel, by any
Yeah.
chance? Yeah. So I created the score for it, and one of the things that really affected me most by the creation of that during COVID, because I had to do it remotely with my music partner, stillness was never still because it was all these torus, the vector equilibrium on every scale. And so I had to create music that was going to be that was representing
My
that visually in the
gosh.
film. And if we have time, Russell, I have a cue that was the last cue that embodies what would life feel like for a positive future for humanity. And it's a cool 4-minute piece. It might be too long for this context, but it's an infusion of positive belief, that because it's hard to believe in a positive future when it seems like the world's going to hell in a handbasket. But we all know what Barbara Marx Hubbard said: this is a death birth, not a birth death. It's this is a birth. So I just want to honor that what you said was so it was so the perfect profile of the as above, so below, and outside and in, the healer and the artist, all unified in one. So thank you for what you shared. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I just want to comment on what you said
And we have
about
two new people.
the Renaissance, Amelie. It's because right now we're in a bardo place. We're in between this whole crisis, the virus of the last year. It's been like a year, has taken us
Amen.
all inside, every one of us, inside our homes, but inside ourselves. It's a time where consciousness is percolating, and alchemy, you have to have all the elements stirred and keep stirring. So this is where we are. We're on the verge, based on like what you inspired me to say, is a renaissance. We are on the verge of that. Out of the dark ages came the great European Renaissance in writing and music and theater, everything. So this is what happens when consciousness is compressed in itself. It percolates. It becomes this alchemical transformation, and we don't want to rush out of it too quickly. When it's, oh, when is it over? When is it coming back to normal? There is no normal anymore for anyone who thinks there would be. This is a game changer, and it's here to help us know this way into a new world. There isn't a path in. We are creating the path. It's like a lecture I gave. Like, you're walking along the path in the woods, and suddenly the woods are just there. There's no path. So what we're doing in this movement forward, in this new year, in this new political environment, whatever you want to call it, it's also the first year of the next decade. 2020 was the end of the last decade. 2021 is the beginning. So these new beginnings is why the artist is so important, because the artist finds its way into the unknown. I love this line by Terence McKenna, says, if the artist can't find the way cannot be found, because the artist, right, taps into something that's beyond this place, beyond this realm of experience. And it's always the artist that creates the new path forward. And this is why we're having this conversation today, because everyone watching has access to their own creative nature. They absolutely do. I mean, everything is about that. So I like to encourage people to take a chance and go into the unknown, create something that maybe you don't even understand, create a form that you have yet to realize and recognize, but you are bringing it through you, because that is the graceful passage into a new reality. That's why I call my show on YouTube New Realities. And this is what we're building. And this is what's so exciting about this time, as we're coming to the end of this dark age, the sun is about to rise. So I'm excited.
Mm. Thank you. A couple of things I want to acknowledge about this pregnant moment is in Portland. We talk about, I learned about as I came to community member here in this wild world of Portlandia. One of the phrases was about sharing codes. And the moment I heard you speak, I'm like, you've got to meet my dear sister Amelie, because you share codes about the embodiment of art and how you move and speak. So that's why one reason why I wanted to bring her on here was for you to be able to dance, because our souls are already dancing, and there are people that we dance with and share codes. Like there's something Gary and I share, we all share, but there's something Gary and I share, something Amelie and I share, something you and Amelie share, something Gary and that's the juice of life. Is art helps us to unconceal that which is most sacred. So thank you, Alan, as you speak, that beautiful, voluptuous way of just seducing the truth. It's just so endearing to me, and how you move. And Amelie does the same thing. You watch her; she is, art in motion. And
Seducing the truth. I love that.
I don't do that. Do that, I should say. I feel the spirit of art, and I'm so grateful to be able to have this opportunity with all of you, helping to strengthen. I never said that before. So this is the moment being birthed, and I want to highlight one of my heroes, so to say, if you want to even call it that, is Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein, one of my favorite quotes is, I have two favorite quotes of all time. Actually, one is, I'm going to start with that one. If you're not living in awe, you're not paying attention.
Right.
Number two, Albert Einstein, imagination is more important than knowledge.
Absolutely.
And I feel that is the medicine this world needs to remember. In creativity, the heart of art, the spirit of the artist, which is in every single person, which you alluded to, Alan. It's all here. It is life. Art is life.
Exactly.
Not some, as Gary talked, it's not an appetizer. Art is the engine, as Gary shared with earlier. It is the engine of life. Art is the creative force. The more in touch with it we are, the healthier we are individually and as a culture. And for me, that's the interface of what the healing arts are for me. Tapping into that, into the heart of life itself, to help us to remember. How I came into the arts is actually through sports. The artistic expression of sports. I didn't really think of it that way at the time, but it really, really grounded me in this physicality, in this movement, artistic movement way of being. And inevitably, the next step for me was into the healing arts. Interface here is that, which is also one of the pain points for art and culture, is that shamanically speaking, and I think Alan went to this, was that, and also bringing over to, say, vibrational medicine, vibrational intelligence, Gary, is that the piece I want to offer here is, with COVID, as Alan brought up into the conversation, and this quarantine opportunity is an opportunity to take a look at that which is ill in society, much deeper than, quote unquote, a virus or a sickness. But I'm very interested in what's the root. What is the root of any condition? What is the root of this quarantine experience? What is the root of this COVID experience, this COVID condition? For me, is that in the shamanic tradition, we talk about a medicine and a shadow, or the dark teachings. The violence could be looked at a dark teaching as, oh my God, it's his enemy, something that we need to conquer, which is a lower masculine way of being we've been in for the dark ages, lower masculine. Divide, conquer, manipulate, control, oppress, or form allyship, a safe haven to be able to be relationships. So for me, shamanically speaking, the medicine of a virus is a viral intelligence. It's an intelligence, a part of life showing us that we impact each other, that we are connected. And again, it's a choice, a way of looking, a way interfacing with life. We can look at it that way. And for me, as I do that, I feel closer to you. I feel closer to myself. I feel closer to the heart of life, the art of life. I literally can feel virus as an intelligence, as a connector, as opposed to a
You know, I
divider.
make,
And I offer that as an opportunity.
sorry, thank you. Thank you, Russell, beautiful. I just want to, in the spirit of Russell Feingold, I want to create a breath of accepting that. I'm going to do that more often, thanks to you, Russell. That was good. I do that with music, but I don't do that with the music of your beautiful expression. Thank you. I found out I had COVID 6 days ago. And I, you know, the being a part of the culture, I can feel sort of, I was moving, I was meditating, I was doing everything. Suddenly I was 5 years old, feeling like I was on a snow day with a fever, watching movies on television. And I just froze and realized, what are you doing? You know, what's the wisdom? What is she telling me? So, because this is life. COVID is life entering in. It's taken away my, it's taken away my smell. And I get to appreciate by don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got's gone, right? My favorite Joni, right? So I'm getting to experience the gift of taste. Ow, life without taste is so trippy. It's like wild. Then why do I eat, right?
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, shoot. Do I have a lesson to learn about nourishment as the reason for eating? Yes. So I just want to honor that I'm in the middle of the journey of receiving that the most powerful lesson I've learned in life since I've been, you know, hit with a string of losses that have taught him is that life happens for me, not to me. So I'm right in the middle of that process of practicing when I preach, walking my and listening to the practices that I myself need to learn. So I just wanted to make it real in the moment with all of you. So
Well,
with what
you
I'm
know,
going
oh, could you want to say something, Amelie? I just, I was,
Go ahead,
I
Alan. I
want to say taste doesn't seem
do
so
have a
important, but it's it's a part of the gift of being here. And I think what artists do is present us with this gift in a much more intense way, because otherwise we just, say, oh,
visceral.
it's just the world. So, a great chef is an artist because you're tasting. So thank you for that little incidental piece of our pleasure of incarnation. Yeah. What were you saying, Amelie? Oh, go ahead, Karen. So,
It's not so incidental, actually.
yeah.
It's not so incidental, actually. So, you know, first of all, as a musician, I certainly want to have good taste as well. It's very interesting without it. But go ahead, Amelie.
Yeah, I would love to just jump in off of the for me, not to me. And, sometimes that's hard to see when everything's breaking down. And I think of what you've been talking about, Alan, just the conditions that we're in right now. This bardo is part break down so much of what we have depended on or relied on or what was secure. And this reality is breaking down, and it's not just happening outside of us, it's happening inside of our relationships. And our relationship, I think sometimes it's hard for us, I'm just going to speak generally, sometimes it's hard to accept that this is happening for us when it feels so painful. And I think it just reveals our underlying relationship to pain that needs to be reoriented because of how much of a culture of like, that big dark bad thing over there, like whether it's just carrying some long list of religious, just ideological, like there's a bad zone and you don't go there, and like there's pain and you don't want it, so we the pleasure. It's like, what happens when we start to turn towards that which is hurting, craving all of the things we don't love in the world to continue because we can't. It just feels like a little wounded baby need to pick up and just hold. And it, we can do that in so many different ways. But I think that as far as art and culture, we've been seeing art, this what you both have so beautifully, and all of you have so beautifully expressed. Art is this soul of life, but we've been seeing it through a culture and a structure and a framework and a complete paradigm of understanding, a worldview that is story of the separate self, as Charles Eisenstein talks about. And it's based on this whole empirical mechanistic worldview that really, separates subject and object and has no real relationship with the animacy of life. So when you see art projected through that filter, it looks hubris, it looks like holding up the identity, it looks like, it starts to get corrupt, just like everything gets inside of that. Maybe it was served in the very beginning, just like my psychological protective mechanism served me when I was 9, and so we're feeling the like, oh no, this isn't good anymore, this doesn't serve. And so I feel like part of the Renaissance and how we can feel agency inside of it is asking the question, what do I do with that which is breakdown, with that which is hurting? Because I do think that as an artist, as a creative, we are going to take those elements and we're going to build them completely. And so I start here with my own self, and I do that from the inside out, and I transmute fear into innovation and allow such from having the courage to face into those deep, dark, untended places that just need a little more love. Miracles happen.
Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you. That is, yeah. What does the artist do for trauma? Sadiq mentioned trauma in the kind of introduction, and there's a lot of art that comes out of trauma because it's a catharsis. There was a woman who was working with veterans and veterans who were traumatized in war. There's actually a TED Talk about this, and they couldn't get over the trauma until they were able to make a mask of what that trauma looked like. And when they could get that out of them and express it into form, something was released in themselves because they were able to move it from the deeper parts, the implicit part of the brain, to the explicit. They could express it because trauma and pain, sometimes we don't know how to express it because it's only felt and then sometimes numbed out, not even felt. So the veterans and traumatized war experiences did something so powerful to bring this out of themselves, project it out for themselves and maybe the rest of the world, what their pain was. And we can also feel that pain in others. We take it on because we're all empathic when we see that projection of pain. So it makes us aware of our own humanity. That's why we're sought after by the rest of the cosmos, because we are the feeling creatures. We have this resonance with emotion and sensitivity that I think a lot of other beings around the cosmos envy, in a sense. We have the capacity to feel like no other being. I'm sure there are other beings that can do it as much, but there's something so soulful at our core that, and a part of us wants to express that to others. We are communicated beings. If an art is not expressed, that's okay. But when it is expressed, we join together in a union of consciousness that makes everyone feel that aspect. And we evolve together as a culture when we can share the arts, our feelings, which is really our feelings. So, yeah.
Russell, I know I feel it's for you to say something, but I want to just place a request
Mhm.
just because I love the altar of direct experience. That I have this,
Got you.
it's
I got you.
that it,
Sorry. I got you queued
what?
up. Got you queued up.
Oh, cool. Let me know.
Yep.
Okay.
So in that Alan expressing, and I feel this, as the spirit of art is moving, the medicine is that connection turn alive and well here. And also I can feel that interface as spirit coming into human form, this corrective about this condition, this boundary reality. And it's like here, it's like I can feel it all happening as like, oh, we have 9 minutes left. And I watch the happen of corralling the infinite into like in this more Buddhist terminology, it's like the suffering, not as a negative thing, like, the cry, like, oh, we have 9 minutes left. So I wanted to just acknowledge, and as Gary, in the spirit of Russell, to breathe in the infinite, and not as a fiction, but as an embracing, and how to more fluidly transition from one space to another as we acknowledge this spirit of time, Chronos. So I want to honor that and be able to transition here to make sure that there are things that I know that are important in human walk that we're doing right here together in our individualized selves. That being said, we have a special treat from Gary. I'm not going to say no, but I want to do a couple of touch points because we're also going to be continuing this conversation. This portion of this panel will be closed, opening up to this campfire experience where I if you can, Gary, Alan, and Amelie, and we're going to be joined by Orit and Spirit to conversation. So it's not over. It's never over. We just fan the fire and we'll continue way beyond. And I want to honor Vibrational Intelligence, Gary's new book, how dear that is to my heart, because in the
Not out yet, by the way.
it's coming. But in the spirit of that, the medicine you're carrying forth, the shamanic healing arts, of which shamanic of just interfacing with the inner world. A healthy culture is whose constituents are in touch with the inner world, with the source of life. And in the shamanic world, there was something called ikoros, these sacred songs, these sacred prayers, or these vibrational organizations of energy, these melodies that carry forth these prayers. So the prayers are carried upon these melodic expressions of shamanically in the plant. So I want the vibrational intelligence is being carried forth, not just in the ikoros, but the ikoros of all our art forms. Everything that's been said here, everything we think, say, is a prayer. I'm a huge movie buff from the movie Flatliners. Everything we think, say, and do, let us choose wisely. Let us breathe wisely. Let's interact wisely. Let's communicate wisely. Wisdom being that which connected to the source of life. So with that being said, please write in, Alan and Gary and Amelie, please write in on the side ways to continue this conversation, how to keep in touch with you and be able, how can we support your artistic expression in the world? So please write those. I know Gary wrote a few. Your web, so we support the arts, not just in these artists, but the art that is life. So we're gonna end this portion with Gary's 4-minute offering. And before we do that, Amelie, any last phrases? Just taking about 30 seconds. Any last offering? And I'm gonna call in Alan as well as your kind of final prayer, and then we're gonna close with the rally through the artistic, spiritual prowess of Gary Malkin. So Amelie.
Yes. Art includes all voices. So all the voices, all the parts inside, all the voices and the beings outside of us represented by different peoples. Just honoring this sacred geometry of the mandala that we are and weaving all of the voices together.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, I'm writing about art and culture and the role of the artist in creating new realities, because it's the artist that pushes us forward. So I'm focusing on a couple of classical painters and showing how their art brought us into a new way of cognizing reality. But I want to just leave with this a few things. What's his name? William Blake said, the imagination is the true essence of the human being. And if you don't have that, you're not truly functioning from your human beingness. And one other thing that comes up in these kind of discussions, we could talk about this for days, and maybe we will. But I want to take us back to ancient Greece again, the dialogue of Socrates with a rhapsode, a poet named Ion, I-O-N. And Socrates says to Ion, you know what makes you a great rhapsode or a great poet? Ion says, yes, it's my passion. It's my love for the art. It's like what I put into it. And Socrates says, no, that is not what makes you great as a poet. It's when you are out of the way. It's when you're not there. It's when you are out of your senses, he says. He says, he says a poet is a winged thing. It's full of the gods that come through us, the muses that speak through us. So that's when we are truly in passion, in power with our art, is when we are no longer in the old self, but we've transcended this world. We are inspired in spirit, bringing it into form. That's when the new realities unfold. That's when the new world starts to take form from something that we are becoming, not something that we were. So that's, I really enjoyed everybody here in all this. And thank you. Thank you all.
Such a blessing.
Gorgeous. Well,
Such a
go ahead,
blessing.
Russell.
Yeah, and I want to introduce, and I know we're probably going to go about 2 minutes over, but we're going into the campfire, transition into that, and I want to give plenty of space. So it's about
It won't cut off what I'm playing, will it?
nope, no,
Good,
no.
good,
This window won't, and that's because I and then Spirit and Orit tend to the campfire, so we're just going to continue on in. So yeah, so please write in any extra notes there. Please stay on, Alan and Amelie, as long as you can. It's been an absolute blessing to be able to commune here with you. And and as Alan alluded to, this is just continues. There's so much more to say. Thank God. There's so much more to say and express. So let the spirit of art continue to flow through us in all ages, in all ways, now and always, forever, with the purest of intention and love and heart. And with that, Gary,
for your beautiful stewarding of this conversation. And I just want to just contextualize this. So the last piece of the film was about wrapping up all the reasons why we have every reason to believe that we were born to thrive. But when I was writing this score, it was the hardest cue for me to create the right music that would alchemize with Foster and Kimberly's summary of the whole movie, because I wasn't feeling positive about the future as we were going through what we've been going through with the elections and this COVID and all this. So what I was remembering now, piece of Malkin word that it was written for in Thrive, is that on the heart math, and I know I have to be quick, the heart math as stillness and self-regulation, but it also talks about the zone of the athlete and the performer that is in that essence of all, right? About all, right? So as we listen to this music, I want it to be where we all listen the way we listened when the first album came from Sgt. Pepper's, the way we listened to music in those old days of pure listening, as an awakening of awe and excitement about what's coming for the triumph of humanity as we step into thriving. And the spirit of that, I wanted to awaken medicine of excitement, of awe, of the positive future that's awaiting us. Here it goes. It's pure score meant for the spoken word of Thrive. Its own. Here you go. Take a deep breath and let it in. May it be so, and so it is. Thanks for letting me share that.
Beautiful, incredible.
Gary.
That is the arts encapsulated and a kind of ending to this dialogue. It's like that's the soundtrack for our conversation there too.
The exclamation mark for the power of art and culture to awaken us to the possibilities that lie before us. So may it be so. Thank you.
Gary, you encapsulated. That was perfection. Like I was there on the front lines with Mel Gibson. What the name of that movie? That
Braveheart.
What's with which one? Braveheart. With Braveheart, I was there on Pandora. I was there. Like you brought the epitome of the celebratory moment of the hero's journey. Encapsulate. You wove the spirit of that moment of the hero's journey perfection. And I imagine that is what Mozart heard and hears. And you tapped it perfectly. Perfect expression. I couldn't be more thrilled, in awe, grateful, and humbled to be the steward of art and culture, with your souls expressing what it is to be an artist.
Hey,
This was so enthralled and in love with all of you, and so grateful to be experiencing this
you're
moment with
beautiful,
you.
man, and beautiful people. Thank you so much for sharing yourselves. Thank you for creating the context, my friend.
Pleasure. How has this been? What's the journey through this realm been like?
Well,
How do
it's
words
expansive.
express it?
It's expanding the heart and soul of us as humans and whoever may be listening, hopefully. And we're moving into the moment of something fresh, something to be honored. I think we have to stop. Art has been reduced to something small, and it's really something big that's a part of all of us. So,
Amen, brother. Thank you for your beautiful passion, Alan. And
thank you.
Amelie, thank you for your commitment. Thank you for everybody.
You know,
And so, Sadiq, to fill you in, and I think this might be the first one that you, go ahead on.
no, it was just silly.
I was gonna
I was just going to add a silly little quote. Earth without art is just EH. It's a little joke.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, it's
Earth with,
no, it's
and Earth with art is awe.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. Yes.
So I will share with Sadiq. This might be the first. I don't know. I think you've been in every one, so I know you're probably tending to the million things you are. And all I can share with you is this. I don't even know what to share with you, except art is not a an app life. Art is the main course. Art is the engine of life, as Gary shared and has been shared through as the spirit of life itself. And to try to phase out art is trying to snuff out life.
Yes.
Man, that's why
Agreed.
Steve's a STEM, my friends. Yeah.
Actually,
And lovely what Arid shared. If you want to read that, it's beautiful.
I just want to acknowledge Russell because
I want to.
Gary pointed it out. Russell, this is your art form, to take it all in and respond from your heart and to give it back out to the world. That is an art. So thank you for sharing your art with us.
Yes, you do it so beautifully, Russell. Gorgeous work.
We have been deeply blessed with Russell's suite and beyond, and he's just really stepped in to the whole person convergence vortex. I want to say like no other. He's just been really just jumping in and providing a deep space of support. One for this realm, but way on. He's been present every single day in some of the different community campfires for different realms, helping to fuel something too soon. We're gonna have a 5-minute transition point in about 6 minutes, and then after that 5-minute transition, we're gonna go into an hour campfire. It's basically if we are the ones that are lighting the torch, creating a campfire of discussion and really highlighting, if you will, what is present here in this realm. In next hour is when we then go deeper with that from the campfire, from the fire that was lit in this sacred talk time. So
may I say that I would love to be in this energy, and I'm about to speak to a few hundred women from Europe on the art and soul of belonging for during the holidays with an organization called the Global Institute for Evolving Women. So I shout out to them, jifu.com, but I would otherwise love to be a part of it, but I got another webinar I'm speaking to, so sorry about that.
Totally good, understandable, as we've shared with all of the representatives, that your invitation is to be here for the Sacred Talk. And if you are able to join for the other two, that we welcome that. But otherwise, our team of our wellness team that cover the heart. And yeah, and also just as an FYI, part of the rules of the game with this game wholeness is that you are actually welcome to go to a sacred talk of another realm, or to go to a community campfire of another realm as we've been progressing through this week. And you can say to the realm steward, hey, as a representative of art and culture, I would like to enter the room and say something. May I enter? And they will let you know if they're a yes to that or not, or you might go into the room and they might see you there, and they might say, hey, we really want to hear from, the representative of arts and culture, Alan Steinfeld. Would you be willing to come into the conversation? And so we're practicing the art of conscious conversation and consent time, learning to weave, and this is part of the magic that this convergence is offering, is that we have the highlighted, but of course we can't silo any of these realms. They don't actually exist by themselves. They're interwoven. It's important to step out of the kaleidoscope for a moment and be like, what does orange look like? What does green look like? The different realms like? But ultimately, we know that they're all intertwined as a part of this larger collective rainbow. And so, what I want to say is that what I was actually, I wasn't able to fully be present during this talk at all. Oftentimes I am in the background and I'm fully listening, but this morning I spoke with Lynn McTaggart, and by the way, Alan, she says hello. And yeah, you're muted at the moment. You're muted.
Yeah, Lynn is an old friend. When she first came out with the field, I recognized her as a genius in a way to put a new perspective on who we were collectively. So yeah. Oh, so you did an interview with Lynn? What did you do with Lynn? What were you just doing with her?
No, she's a partner. She's a partner. So on Sunday, we are inviting all of the realm representatives, all of the realm stewards, our entire community. We're also inviting political leaders from all over, other leaders. We're inviting all of our realm representatives and stewards to invite as many people as they possibly can to that time. We would like to fill the room. We can max out at 10,000, right, on a Zoom webinar. And then we are going to have all the representatives in the room. We're going to have Lynn in the room. I'm talking with Michael Beckwith right now about getting him in the room. Deirdre, who is also going to be in the room. I don't know if, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. I think your name came up last night.
Right? Deirdre
Yes.
Hayes. Yeah, from
Yes.
Santa Barbara. Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, and her husband made the movie What the Bleep Do We Know?
Yeah, William.
Right. And so
William. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just William.
So Sunday.
Yeah,
I don't remember. It is William, but I don't remember his last name. So Sunday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Lynn McTaggart is
that Mountain Standard, my friend?
Yes. So 9 a.m. to 11 Pacific, and so Lynn told me the focus of the intention experiment, which we're not going to reveal yet. I'm just gonna say it's fucking great, and I'm excited of where we're going to be putting our collective attention and energy. And so in lieu of now being clear of where we're directing our collective energy, I then just spent the last hour on the phone with people who would contribute to that space, including the founder of Free and Fair Elections. So Christina Tobin, we're going to be bringing in a lot of people from the political sphere. I can say that the focus will be specifically on the realm of governing and politics. So I'll say that much.
May
So,
their arts and culture impregnate that world with the vivification and the aliveness of the heart and soul, because it needs it. I gotta go, by the way. I'm going to my next webinar. I really appreciate you being the grand puppeteer, Sadiq, and linking us together. Love you all. Adios. Hasta la vista. Que le vaya
Thanks, Gary.
con Dios.
And I want to talk to you about sharing. I want to talk to you about sharing some of your potent music that you just shared on Sunday. So let's talk. I'd love to have that integrated and part of the magic.
Sounds great. All right, we'll talk about that. Russell, beautiful job. All my love. Take care.
It looks like I missed some really, really great bonding in this space, and I look forward to watching the recording and seeing the magic that was made. And yeah, and so we have, right now we have sort of 3 minutes to the transition time. Am I looking correctly? Yes, 3 minutes to the transition time for the campfire. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's watching this, for being willing to be in the conversation, to be a part of the magic, and to get involved at the level that you have been. I know it's been a gift, and really beautiful for us, and just want to offer a real big offer of gratitude and thanks. Also, just want to let everyone know, like, for those of you who are watching this from home, that we have made this program available to the public for use, for consumption, to be actively engaged, and all we've asked is your time. That said, if you feel that what we're providing is something that you want to see more of in the world, and you want to support more of this work coming out into the world, we invite you to go ahead and go to our website, go to earthwalkunited.org, and click the donate button. The way that all the money that comes in, all the green love that comes in for this convergence, we will actually be pulling that together and then having some sacred talks, sacred ceremony after the convergence with all the contributors series, both 10-10, 11-11, and then here 12-12 through solstice. We will be sitting down with everyone, sharing well, first of all, having gratitude circles. So we're gonna do this very differently than what we see out in the world, as it relates to financial exchange. That we don't want to live in a transaction alone society. We want to be in a conscious relating space. And so start by inviting all of our contributors to come into a sacred ceremony space and start sharing, like, what they got out of this entire experience, what they're grateful for, what are the gifts that they've received from this entire convergence that goes beyond or outside of the realm of financial exchange. Then, after we really create an anchor in that, then we're going to start having the conversation of how do we equitably distribute to those who help co-create this entire experience the funds that were donated into the space, so that it truly supports the movement. It supports us as an organization. It supports all the different contributors. We want to move beyond the model that we see so predominantly out there, which I believe, and many of us believe here at Earthwalk, is not quite healthy. It's not our healed version of a holistic economic and business space. And so we're going to be holding sacred ceremony with all of the people in the field of contribution, so that we may discuss how to share resource in a way that lifts us all up. So we're not perpetuating the dominator model of business that we see out there in so many different forms, but that we're creating a rich, fertile field that supports everyone who is a part of this space and giving their energy that all of you are experiencing. So again, if you feel called to support this field and all the people who are contributing to it, earthwalkunited.org, and just click the donate button and write in there a note saying that this is going for the Convergence and we love you.
Beautiful, brother. I just want to chime in for a moment there. I think it's, seems to be like historically, people tend to shy away with like arts and reciprocity, financial reciprocity. Like somehow those two are like diametrically opposed, and like, oh, but then it's always support the arts, support the arts. I feel there's such a push to support the arts because, or cry to support the arts because there needs to be an up-leveling, an in-leveling of honoring the value of art. And I feel that's also really what the whole morning has been about, is reestablishing the value of art and culture as a necessity, as an entree on the great plate of life. And because art in its purest essence, in its essence, is life. And somehow that got disconnected, which I think is really metaphorical for really what is ailing our society. We've gotten disconnected from the heart of life. So we function very intellectually, very headstrong, which is an unhealthy masculine. And then the lower masculine aspect is control and manipulation. So this whole unhealthy patriarchy, because I also believe there's healthy patriarchy, like there's healthy matriarchy, but the unhealthy patriarchy is control and domination. So here, the shift into honoring a rebalancing by putting our pendulum over to honoring the sacred feminine will help to bring balance between matriarchy and patriarchy into a fullest expression of life. So that being said, let us let go of the need to control something by establishing back on the altar of life, along with governance, along with sovereignty, with all of these other sectors. Let's get them all back where they belong. They're all there. So let's actually cleanse and purify our perception to see the wholeness that already exists. So ritualistically, ceremoniously, we cleanse and purify to be able to see more clearly again and feel more clearly what is really true. And that's what this is all about. So if you feel this conference, so if you're feeling inspired, please use your purchasing power. Support that which you feel in Aini and sacred reciprocity, whether it be with your time, your energy, financial resource, which is a currency. It's an energy, a current. Let us really, really, really step into what we value. It's so easy to spend, money on like our cars and other things that we deem of value, which they are. And remember that art is as valuable as your car. It really, really is in a healthy society. So let's reorient back into supporting that which we deem most valuable.
I love it, Russell. I love how you articulate just that really important piece, like, at that currency, like to be like the wave, to be willing to move in the world what it is you're wanting to see move. Like movements don't move without currents, without currency. And so the more that we say yes, Benjamin Franklin talked about this, the biggest way you vote every day is with your dollar. There was something that Benjamin Franklin says, like voting once a year, all these things great, but the biggest way you vote every day is with this piece of paper.
That's and also politically speaking, let's tie them in and like the culture and bring culture into art back into politics, and politics back in healthy politics, the polis, the healthy city, the walls of the city. This beautiful song that we've forgotten. Let us remember. And dude, I love that. Let us vote. The medicine of voting, not just once a year or a couple times a year. Let us vote every day with who we are and how we live. Our life is a living vote. It's a living prayer. Prayer is voting is praying. No.
I just got a message from who's in the back room, but she's not able to come on the light with us. She said, although I can't actively participate in the conversation at the moment, Russell speaks my truth, so I feel represented.
Oh.
In true light of politics, she feels represented by you.
I want to actually, I'm gonna welcome my dear sister, who I love, who I've become to love, my dear sister Spirit. And before I do that, I'm texturing the space for a moment. By first, I want to acknowledge Danette Walpert, who would be a perfect segue into, I feel, in spirit, in as I'm musing in this moment. And I didn't mention her before, but she was in the spirit of art and culture. In part of our art and culture family here is that we had an amazing experience yesterday, last evening, of screening The Power of the Heart. And her story is that she healed herself from a brain tumor that she spoke about so artistically, art in terms of the heart of life, so powerfully, of how she used a constant stream of positively affirming, life-affirming cinema. That helped heal her, which was a living miracle to her doctors in all the world. And then from there was birthed the Illuminate Film Festival. So I just want to honor you, who another person who I become so endeared to and love and look forward to connecting more with. So thank you, Sadiq, bringing us all together to commune with Spirit and Alan and Gary and Orit and Danette and all this family who I wouldn't have otherwise probably met. So Spirit, my dear sister Spirit, but the great Spirit of life has orchestrated this in a grander intelligence of life that is here for us, the living magic that is synchronistically blending and synergistically blending us together, bringing us together to bring forth this medicine in this moment. And with that, I roll out the red carpet to welcome my sister, dear Spirit, in this moment, to share anything that you would like in your grand beauty of heart, soul, and presence. Welcome to this moment.
Thank you, brother. That was phenomenal. You are phenomenal. This was phenomenal. And this was so powerful. And what I want to bring in is my personal journey with music. I think someone mentioned throughout the conversation when I jumped in about listening and hearing. I remember the first day where my whole life changed and I started my spiritual journey. Music helped me so much on that journey to heal, to evolve, to learn so much about myself and this game of life. It was June 2002. I was listening to one of my favorite artists. At that time, I was a housewife of two young men. My youngest was 2 and my oldest was 5 months. A girl from Brooklyn, New York, went through some stuff, lived through some stereotypes, And I was listening to this woman that ended up raising me through her music called Erykah Badu. She said, I think I made a wrong turn back there somewhere. And it made me think of so many wrong turns that I made in my life. And I acknowledged those wrong turns. Some of those wrong turns scared me. And then I looked at my children and said to myself, what do I do so they don't make the wrong turns that I made, especially from the type of community I came from, what is in some of our culture that is portrayed about us, that the road we will walk.